Hello, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kim. Today's video, we are going to be talking about the books I read this year. I think it was about 67 books I read this year. My goal was about 100, but it didn't happen. Anyways, before we do start the video, I do want to wish everybody a happy new year, and I hope all your wishes come true this 2024. Alright, so let's get started. So 2023 was the year that I actually started like getting into books more. I started reading a lot more, and the month of January I only read 2 books, and I did start with If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin, I think. I thought this book was pretty great, but I actually got this book because everybody talked about how sad it was, which, not gonna lie, I did cry at the end. Like, once I started like reading what happened, I just started bawling. But I didn't think this book was sad at all. I mean, I think it was just miscommunicated what like their feelings were for each other and stuff. But I honestly think this book was so good. I actually rated this a 4 stars. Would I recommend this? Absolutely. I did like it a lot. My next book I read was Verity by Colleen Hoover. This book was amazing. I actually rated this a 5 stars. I know Colleen Hoover, everybody's like iffy about her books, and it's like nobody likes her or whatever. But honestly, this book had me scared. Like, I was reading this and I was like scared for this book. But this is a really good book. I do recommend this like 100% if you want to start getting into reading. I feel like Colleen Hoover books are very great to start to get into reading more. So, and that's what I did. You're gonna see like my first few months, which I started reading, I started with a lot of the Colleen Hoover books, and this one was a really good book. I'm not gonna go in too much into detail what each book is about, because I have most of these books, I have videos on them and I kind of talk about them. So I'm just gonna kind of like go through them and tell you what I rate them and if I recommend them or not. For February, I actually read 3 books, and I did start with It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which I really did like this book. I actually rated this a 5 stars. I heard this was like another iffy book. Like, some people liked it, some people didn't, but I absolutely loved it. A lot of people, I did hear like reviews and stuff. I saw the reviews that said that this book was very romanticizing abuse, which I don't think it was. I feel like this was 100% what happens during abusive relationships, and I just think it was like very good, like, written. So I did love this book, and I gave this book a 5 stars. The other book I read by Colleen Hoover was Ugly Love, and I gave this book a 5 stars. I absolutely love the story to this book. I just think like the tragedy that happened in here was like very good. Like, she told the story really good, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I have nothing negative to say about this. And the other thing is that I literally ate all the Colleen Hoover books. Basically, I read them like in a day or day and a half. They're so short and they're so good to get through. I did have like maybe 2 or 3 misses with Colleen Hoover, but all the other ones that I've read so far are really great. Then the other one I read this month was Still With Me by Jessica Consolo or something. This was, I think I rated this, let me check. I rated this a 3.5 stars because, in my opinion, it was a good story. It was a good book. But in my opinion, I feel like this is the 3rd book in a series. So I feel like, in my opinion, it could have been written, like, this story could have been told in 1 book or 2 books. I feel like 3 books was a little bit too much. But I feel like she could have told the story in 1 book, honestly. I feel like there's a lot of details that we don't need. And there's like, she puts in like, I think it's like 2 or 3 stories in one story. So I feel like this one, we're focused on Amelia, that she is like in the protective services. What's it called? Basically in in book one, she is being chased by this guy who she had her dad and her were in a car accident, and the girl in the other car died, and it was a daughter of like a serial killer and stuff. So he's like going after her, and so she like runs away to like another town. So she keeps moving towns because he keeps finding her. And so like this book is basically when he finds her and all the trouble that they have to go through. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like it could have just been told in one book and not 3. So that's like the only reason I gave this a 3.5. But I do recommend this book. And then for March, I read 4 books. 2 were Kindle Unlimited, and then 2 were physical books. I did start with It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, another Colleen Hoover book. I rated this a 5 stars, but I feel like I am gonna put this down to a 4.5. I literally change my ratings. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a really good book, and then I'm like, oh no, I think I'm gonna change it. And then when I like 4.5, no, this, I can't stop thinking about this book, so I'm gonna go. So you might hear me say like change ratings in here, but I feel like this is a 4.5. I did like the story and I do recommend it, but I feel like this book was not needed at all. I feel like she did not have to read this book. Like I did not need this story. I did not need this book. I feel like it was more of Atlas and his brother instead of Lily and Atlas, if you understand. So it was a good story. I did like it, but it was not needed. So my next book I read in March was A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate about this, but I rated that book 2 stars. I did not like it at all. I think that book was very boring. Everybody was talking about how sad it was and how everybody cried during that book. I honestly did not shed 1 tear. I don't know. To me, I don't like how the story was told, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't a book for me, honestly. But you might like it. We have different opinions, so that's okay. One of the books I say if it's a 5 star might be a 3 star for you, but I did not like this book at all. So I'm sorry, but I know. Then my next book, it was also on Kindle, which is Deadly Illusions by Kathy Lockhart, which is, I think it's like a 4 book series, but you can read them like standalones. But I love this book. I gave this a 5 stars. I was going through Kindle and I just saw it and I kind of just started reading it, and I actually did finish the second book too. But I really did like this book, and I also gave this a 5 stars, and I do recommend it 100%. Kindle does have a lot of good books in there. All right, my next one is Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert. This is the Hades and Meg retelling of Disney retelling. And basically she's queen to Hades king. So basically this is just like telling a different story. These are very spicy books, and there's a lot of spice in here. And I feel like for my opinion, for my taste, it was a little bit too much. So I did rate this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I did like the story though. I love how she, like the twist of everything in the books it's going. Basically it's a Hades and Meg and Hercules retelling, and I love these retellings. I feel like these are so cool, and I probably have a bunch more in here. And yeah, and which one's the first book? Oh, the first book to this one is Desperate Measures, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. So it is Desperate Measures, and that one is a Aladdin retelling, like Jasmine Jafar and Aladdin, which he's actually called Ali in the book, but it's like a retelling of them. And then this is the second book, which is a Hades, Meg, and Hercules retelling, and I 100% recommend these books. Like I mentioned, they are spicy books. If you don't like that, you might not like these books, but I love them. For April, I read 7 books. The first one, I I got these, like, I have, like, I bought these 3 together. They're YA romance books. And I literally walked in one day. I was, like, bored, and I walked into Barnes Nobles. And I was like, I'm gonna go look at the books, YA. That's all I used to read, like YA. I wasn't a big reader, though. I started in 2023, like I mentioned at the beginning. And I used to read nothing but YA books, and then I started getting into TikTok. And I think I've mentioned this before in some of my other books. And when I started going into TikTok, I saw a lot of, like, I don't know, somehow I got into book talk. And if you see, like, my taste in books, it started growing into more of the romance books. And I am trying to get into, like, fantasy books and also, like, into thrillers. And I have a little bit of like, each of it in here. But if you can see, I did start with a lot of YA books, and then I started going to, like, a lot of romance, and it's just a little starts growing like that. And I do have a bunch of them coming up. But this one is called Chasing Lucky by Jem Bennett. It is a YA book, and I did rate it this a 4.5. Honestly, I don't even remember what this book is about, but I think the girl goes back to, like, her hometown, and then that's, like, the Lucky is, like, the like a childhood best friend. So it's like a childhood best friends to lovers kind of type of book. And I did like it. I just don't really remember what it was about, but I know I did rate this a 4.5 because I did enjoy the book. The next one is The Upside of Falling. I absolutely love this book, and I absolutely recommend it. I gave this a 5 stars. I feel like I love the trope where it's, like, fake dating and then they fall in love. I absolutely love this trope, and this is what this was about. She starts dating the quarterback because her friend teases her about her never having, like, been a boyfriend or something like that. And then he's like, okay, let's fake date because my dad keeps telling me that I need a girlfriend or something like that. So they date, and then they kind of fall in love with each other, like the trope, like, fake dating trope. And I absolutely love this book. I recommend this 100%. The next one I read was The Failing Boyfriend by Casey West, I think. This is also a dating trope, fake dating trope, but I did rate this a 4.5. I was kind of bored with this one. I did like it, and I do recommend it, but I was kind of bored, like, at the beginning of it. This is she kind of goes to prom, and her boyfriend dumps her, so she kind of sees this guy and was like, hey, can you be my date? You pretend to be Bradley, that's, like, the boyfriend. But nobody believed that she had a boyfriend, so she wanted to take someone with her. So then she fake dates this guy, and then obviously they kind of fall in love at the end. And it was, I don't know, the beginning was just kind of, she's, like, kind of snotty, so it was kind of, like, boring to me. But I do recommend this, and I think it was a good book. I know I said I wasn't going to talk of, like, going too deep into the books, but it's just, some of them I will, some of them I won't, so yeah. I feel like the more popular books I won't really talk about, but, like, the ones that don't really get talked about, I probably will tell you a little bit about them. The next one I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I loved it. I ate this book. I read this book in one day. I think I went, like, I started in the morning and I went babysitting at night, and I read this book through the whole day. Like, I just one sit down. And I loved it. I don't know. I think a lot of people said this book made them cry. It didn't make me cry, but it was a really, really, really good book. I absolutely loved the story to this, and yeah, just very amazing. I 100% recommend it. The next one I read was The Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert. This is the 3rd book in the Twisted Villain books, where basically the villain gets the girl. So this is the Captain Hook and Tinkerbell retelling. It says, now the only thing I believe in is in revenge. It's funny because these books is basically the bad guy gets the girl, and the good guy is the bad guy. So I love how, like, the whole twist to them is. And like I said, they are very spicy, but I did rate this book a 5 stars. I love this, love the story, love the like the passion, the love in here. This is Tinkerbell and Hook, and I love how in this book she's like a plus size woman, so I kind of love that too. And yeah, this is a very, very great book. And like I mentioned, I 100% recommend them. The next one I read is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. I rated this 5 stars. Very great book. This book actually made me sob. I was literally sobbing at the end of the book. It was more like towards the end. And like sobbing. My husband walked in. He's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Don't interrupt me at this moment. I am reading a book. I am sobbing. Leave me alone." But just make sure to read the trigger warnings in this book, or look up trigger warnings, because I'm not sure if it even has trigger warnings at the beginning. Yeah, just make sure you read into this book before you actually read it, because there is topics about SA in here. So yeah, but I did love the story, and I cannot wait to read the second book. The second book came out, The Way I Am Now. I cannot wait to read that and let you guys know what I think about it, because I 100% recommend this book and I absolutely loved it. The last book I read that month on April, it was The Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, which it's thick, it's massive, and I think this is one of the first thick books that I actually read this year or ever, and I did love it. I already have book 2 and 3, and I cannot wait to get into it. I gave this 5 stars also. Absolutely love this book. So cool, so great. Love the story. I love Knox and Naomi. I loved everything about it. I know I've heard like iffies about how Knox acts like a little kid when he's like I don't know if he's like 30 or 40-year-old man in this book, but I don't know. I just loved everything about this. Alright, in May, I read 8 books. And the first book I read in May was Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is one of the missed books that I was talking about. I actually rated this a 3.5. I have no idea. Like, when I started reading this book, I was not understanding it. I was kind of bored. I kind of got into, like, I was kind of like, oh wow, okay, like at the end of the book, kind of like when, if discovers, like he finds out what happened, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like I was just bored. So to me, I don't recommend it, but you might like it. If you want to read it, you can give it a chance, but I honestly did not like this book. The next book I read was Shatter Me by Tahiri Mafi. This book has been through it. Look at this. But I rated this a 4.5. I did like it. At first I was kind of bored, like maybe the first few chapters, like 2 or 3 chapters, I was bored through this book. And then it started getting a little bit more interesting, and I need to get into this book. I don't know, because I heard so many, like, it's like this kind of the book. I heard like it's good, and I hear it's not good, and then I hear 2 or 3 books are good, and then like the rest of the series is not good. So I don't know. I need to get into it, read them, and see what my opinion on them, because I did read like the first novella, but I can talk about that when I get to it. But yeah, so 4.5 I do recommend, and I think everybody has heard about this series already, so yeah. The next one I read is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. 6 stars out of 5. I absolutely love this book. I think I love I think this was no. I love dark romances. I don't know, the spice in here. And I love the retelling, like the Disney retellings. This is a Hook and like a Peter Pan retelling, which obviously, like I mentioned again, Peter Pan is the bad guy in here. And this is Hook and Wendy, which Wendy is Peter Pan's daughter. So it's like kind of like a mafia-ish thing in here. And I loved it. Like, I was just watching a video of someone, I think she was reading this. Yeah, she did like a reading video or like a reading marathon or something like that. And she was reading this book, and she did not like it because obviously it's not her cup of tea. She's not into the dark romances. And I'm just like, oh my God, I think I love dark romances, because I don't know. It's just, I love it. I love it. I don't even know what to explain. I just love it. Next one I read is The Fine Print by Lauren Ott. Lauren Asher, I think. I might be saying it wrong. But this is the Dreamland Billionaire series, which I ate this book up. Sometimes I get discouraged because I see the books are a little bit thicker, and I'm not well, I wasn't used to like thicker books. But then when I start getting into them, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I ate these. This one I ate it up. Even the like the Lucy Score book. I eat up. Like, these are great books, so just kind of, I just get intimidated by the thickness of the book. But I did give this a 5 stars, and I do have book 2 and 3, and I do want to finish them. I think they're gonna be in some of my next videos where I read the next book in the series, or where I finish series. So, and if you love Disney, this is kind of gonna be like a Disneyland kind of theme, and I loved it. So good, so great. I 100% recommend this too. My next book is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This is another book that I did not enjoy. I gave this book a 3.5. It was a good storyline. It was great. I was just bored at the beginning of the book, and I didn't even understand what was going on till like almost the end of the book. And I was like, oh, okay, like, and then after I read this book, I saw the series, I mean the TV show that they have. I think it's on, is it Hulu or Amazon Prime? Not sure. But I read the series. I watched the TV series too, and I didn't like it either. I thought it was just like, I don't know, it's missing something. But like I mentioned, the book is okay. I did like the story. I just don't like how it was written, I think. I don't know. My next book, it's Neon Gods by Katee Robert. This is another series of Katee Roberts. This is the, I forgot what it's called. The something God series. I forgot what the series is called, but this is the retelling of Hades and Persephone. So I already read the second book to this too, but I gave this a 4.5. I had to push myself to read this. It got kind of boring through bits and pieces of the book, and I'm just like, I don't know, like there was times where I was like, should I just even continue reading it? But I did push myself through this, and I did finish it, and I did like it. I just thought some parts of it was boring. My next book that I read was Flock by Kate Stewart. I absolutely love this book. 6 stars out of 5. These are my babies. I absolutely love this series. Also has a lot of spice in here. It's one of like you can call it like a dark romance kind of. I don't know. I just loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. I read the whole series this year. I absolutely amazingly loved it. Like, let me tell you, if you know, you know. Chapter 25. Chapter 25. And if you've heard the audio, oh, chapter 25. Chapter 25. That's all I'm going to say about this book. The next book I read was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I gave this book a 4.5. Do read the trigger warnings before starting this book. This book is actually really heavy. But do read the trigger warnings before starting this book. It is a really good book, but it has really hard topics in here. And it's a little creepy, but we like creepy, right? Like I mentioned, I am so into dark romances. I have the second book and I cannot wait to read it. But I did give myself some time because this was kind of like a heavy read. And then I heard the second book's a little bit heavier to read. So I wanted to give myself some time, and I just kind of didn't pick it up. And I want to pick it up this year. So I'm very excited to finish this duo. And I love like how the book, like the pages, look at this, it's so pretty. I just love the aesthetics of the book. And then my month of June, I did read 6 books, which 3 were in Kindle reads and 3 were physical books. And I did start this month with Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I gave this book a 4.5. So cute. Loved it. Love the story to it. A lot of people did say they cried during this book. I did not. It did not make me cry. I think it was really sad, but I did not cry. I 100% recommend this book. It's a sports romance, which has to do with football. And I did like that. I think I'm getting into like the sports romance. And I think that was my first sports romance, if I'm not mistaken. And I did really, really like this book. So cute. The second book I read this month was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. And I did give that 3.5 also. Which I thought it was a little boring for me, for my taste. I do recommend. You might like it more than I did, but just wasn't my cup of tea. I feel like once I started getting into like more of the romance books, I kind of like I stopped kind of liking Colleen Hoover. I don't know. I guess it's different writing, but I didn't really like that book either. So the next book I read was Twisted Games by Ana Juan. And this is the second book to the Twisted series. This was actually one of my favorites out of the first Twisted Love and Twisted Games. Twisted Games was my favorite. I did rate this a 4.5. I did really love the story between Riz. I think that's how you say his name. Riz, and Bridget. I love how she's a princess and he's a bodyguard. I don't know. I loved it. I just loved it. There is a book that I've been wanting to get. It's called The Bodyguard. And I don't know why. I feel like I'm going to love it. I just kind of love those kind of tropes like the bodyguard and the princess or, you know, stuff like that. So I did love this book. This is also a dark romance book. And this also has spice in here. But I 100% recommend this book. The next one I read was Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. Because I did love the other book, the Knock 'Em Out series book, I did pick up this Lucy Score. Like I said, her books are so long and they do intimidate me, but I did eat this up so quick. I did give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I did really love this, and I do recommend it 100%. And I think this is another, no, I'm lying, it's not, but this is I want to say like a second chance romance book. So yeah, I did like this a lot. The next one I read was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I can't say that name. But this is when I start getting into my thriller book era. And I did like this book. I gave this book a 4 stars because I kind of predicted what happened so quick into the book. I did really like it though. I heard so many positive reviews, so I did pick it up, and then I was like, whoa. But I absolutely loved it too. 100% recommend it. And in July, I read 3 books. I read Priest, which is very, 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 very spicy. And yeah, it's basically about a priest. Church. And yeah, so I don't know how I feel. Like, I did love the story. I did like it, but I feel like it was a little bit too much for me. That's why I rated it a 4 stars. This book might not be for everybody. I don't know if I'm gonna continue the series because there is 3 books to these, but yeah, up to you if you want to read it. The next one I read is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I rated this book a 3 stars. I did not like this. I tried to, but it has like a cheating trope in here, and I don't like that. This is the second book I think this is the second book she wrote, because I did read the other one, Meet Me at the Lake, I think it's called. No, wait, this is Meet Me at the Lake. Every Summer After. That one is the first one she wrote. This is the second one, so I read this one first, and I didn't really like it. I don't recommend it, but it's up to you if you want to read it. I just didn't like the cheating trope. And it's like, it didn't really make sense to me because like they met one day, I think it was like one day out of 10 years ago. And then she got like so obsessed over him, and then like she cheated on the boyfriend with him or something. I don't even remember like the actual story of this. And then 10 years later, she was like very sour over him not meeting her at the lake. Like they were supposed to, I think a year later or something like that. And yeah, so she was kind of mad about that. But I was like, dude, you barely know this guy. So yeah, I'm over this book. The next one I read was King of Wrath by Ana Huang. This is the next series that she has. And this has to do with Dante, I think. Yeah, Dante and Vivian. I love this. I actually gave this a 5 stars. And I already read the second one to this. And I bought the third one. So that one's coming up in the video. I think she's going to do 7 books if I'm not mistaken. I'm like super excited to keep reading these books. In July, I only read 3 books, which this is like my favorite month of. I didn't read much, but I did love all the books I read. I read Exodus by Kate Stewart, which I did mention. This is one of my favorite series of the whole year. And the other book, chapter 25, is like, and this one's like, I don't even want to get to chapter 25. If you know, you know. I rated this a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it too. I ate this book up. I literally want to experience these books again for the first time. Like this will be a series that I will read over and over again. I'm actually listening to the audiobook for this, so this book had me in tears. I absolutely cried. I was sobbing in the couch, like sobbing. My husband was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah. Books don't really make me cry, but this book made me sob. If you know, you know. And then the next one I read was The Finish Line by Kate Stewart, which is the 3rd book to the Ravenhood series. And I actually loved it too. A lot of people I heard that were saying that this book was not needed at all. But I feel like I did need this book because there's a lot of questions that the 1st and 2nd book didn't answer. And I didn't get them answered till this book. So I totally loved it. And yeah, so best books in the world. And then my next book was The Inmate by Freida McFadden, which my thriller area. I heard at first when I heard about this book, I heard so many good things about it, and now every time I hear about this, a lot of people are like, no, I didn't like it. No, I didn't like it. I'm like, what? I loved it. It was like this big old twist at the end, but I absolutely loved it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say because I gave this book a 5 stars, and I 100% recommend this. In September, I only read 1 book, which is One Less Rainy Day by Kate Stewart, The Legacy of a Prince. This is also in the Ravenhood series, but it's like another series that she came up with. I don't know how many books she's going to do with this one. This is called The Ravenhood Legacy. And this one tells basically Dominic's point of view from the other books. And this one also has my heart. And it also had me sobbing. Love it. These books are my life. I absolutely love these. I 100% recommend these. In October, I read 13 books. I think 2 of them were, no, I think one of them was a Kindle read. Yeah, only one of them was a Kindle read, and the other ones were physical books. I'm gonna put this down because they're gonna fall. The first book I read in October was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. This was my first Stephen King book that I read, and I did talk about it, and I think from here on, that's when I started talking about these books more, I want to say. But I did talk about this book in one of my other videos, which I mentioned that me and my cousin were reading this book together, and the beginning of this book was okay. Like, I loved it, and then once they started going to this other world, it started going downhill for me. And then I had to put in audio because I was so bored. I had to push myself through this book. and I feel like the audio helped me. And then I finished like the two last chapters. I read them, and I gave this book a 4 stars. But I do recommend it 100%. And I love that I started getting Stephen King, because I have several books. I think I read another book this year from him, and that's it. But I do want to buy. I haven't two or three more books that I do want to read. The next book I read was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I gave this book a 5 stars. I love this. Rachel Catherine, I think that's her name. She raved about this book so much, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I picked it up because of her, and I ate this up. I think I read this book in maybe a day, and I think it was so cute. The next book I read is The Beast by Katie Robert. This is the 4th book in the Twisted Villain series, and this has to do with this is like the Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Gaetan, Isabella, and the Beast. I think that's her name, Isabella or Isabel. But it basically is just like a retelling of, the villain gets the girl, but this is a little bit different, because usually the good guy, it's the villain in the movie, but this time Gaetan and the Beast are like the love interest of Isabel. So it's like, this is like a poly relationship kind of in a way, and I did like this book. But like I mentioned, they are very spicy, and I feel like the spice was a little bit too much for me, so I did rate this book 4.5, but I do 100% recommend it also. Next book I read is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Loved it. This is like my favorite. One of my favorite shows was Criminal Minds, and this is kind of like a Criminal Mind, but with teenagers, because I 100% recommend this, and I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. And this is like a kids with special abilities. Like, they don't even have powers, they're just the natural abilities that they have. And I 100% recommend this, and I need to buy the second book to this. I really, really do hope I can finish this series this 2024. So I'm really excited about that. The next book I read is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. And I rated this a 5 stars. I did really like it. I actually, when I started reading it, I had like maybe 80% done with this. And I started watching the first episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty, which I didn't even know there was a show until my niece was telling me about it. And so I liked it, and I kind of stopped. It's like, no, I need to finish the series first, and then I can go into the TV show. But I did really like it, and I 100% recommend this too. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about the next books, because I heard Belly is kind of like annoying because she doesn't know what she wants. But I really do hope I like the next books. The next book I read is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did enjoy this book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I liked it. I really did. But at the end of the book, it was kind of getting boring, because I feel like it was so repetitive for me that I was just like, oh my god, can I just be done reading this? Like, I just wanted the book to be over because of how repetitive it was, and I was just kind of bored. Next book I read, another little thriller by The House Made by Frida McFadden. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely 1000% recommend this book. This book had me at the edge of my seat, and I ate this up. I think I read this in a day and a half maybe, but I love this book, and I cannot wait. I heard the second one gets better, so I cannot wait to actually read it. And I think either the third one's coming out or it already came out. Not sure, but I'm ready for these. I'm ready. Next one I read is King of Pride by Alan Huang. This is the second book of the King of Sins. I rated this a 4.5. I thought it was kind of boring. It took me a while to get into it. They kind of I don't know, I didn't really like this much as I did the first one. The first one was great. Loved it. Absolutely 100%. This one was okay. This one has to do with Kai and Isabella's story, and they're like from different worlds. Well, that's what they make us think. They're like so different, so when they get together, it's like, what? Like everybody's like, they don't even go together. Like, it doesn't make sense. But I did like it. Like I said, just I loved the first one a lot more than I did this one. The next one I read is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. This book disappointed me so much. I actually rated this book at 2 stars. This book disappointed me so much. I heard so many good things before I picked this up, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the storyline was great. Like, I just didn't think it was written correct. Like, I did not like the way it was written. But I heard her books are left with like cliffhangers, all of them, and that's another thing I didn't like, that it was a cliffhanger and it doesn't have another book. And I think I looked it up and I read into it, and I think it said that her books are cliffhangers. So that's another thing I didn't like about this. Like I said, the storyline was great. I just didn't like the way it was written. So it was kind of like, yeah. Do I recommend it? No. But if you read her books and you love her style, you'll probably like this one too. You do what you want to do with this book. The next book I read is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. 6 stars out of 5. I absolutely loved this book. Everything about this book is perfect. Like, this book has my heart. I loved how, yeah, I just loved, I don't even know what to, I don't even have anything to say about this book. I just literally absolutely loved it. This was like, this is my first book actually that I kind of like, if you want to call it annotating, but I did highlight some little cute quotes that I liked. And I don't know, this book made me cry, made me laugh, made me giggle, made me like, oh my god, like, made me have every single feeling you can have. This book made me have it. And I think it's the cutest book ever made. The next book I read is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I actually rereading these. I love rereading these like during winter time ish. This 5 stars. I loved it. Harry Potter has my heart. I love the movies, love the books, and I will repeat them all the time. Read them and read them and watch them and watch them. The next book I read was the Kendall Read. It's called Carving for Kara by Melissa McSherry. I rated this book 4 stars. This is a very creepy ass book. I guess you can say it's like a dark romance, but it's like very creepy. This is a creeper ass guy. I did like it. I enjoyed reading it. I just thought it was like I mentioned, very creepy. Kara, she's mad at this guy at the cafe, and he like obsessed over her and was like, "You're mine no matter what." Like, no thank you, sir. I am great without you. But I think it was a really good read. I 100% recommend it also. My last read of the month was Conceal, Don't Feel by Jen Colonida. It is a twisted tale that has to do with Frozen, Elsa, and Anna. And I rated this a 4.5 stars because, I mean, you kind of know the story. I feel like it's mainly like the same thing as the movie, but with a little twist. Basically, in this book, Anna and Elsa don't know each other and they're cursed. So it's like, they don't even know that they're cursed. And apparently the only people that know, like I think they're like separated at birth or something like that. No, not at birth, when they're a little older. Basically, the curse started like breaking once Elsa started to need Anna. So it's like basically the same thing as the movie with a little twist. So I don't know, I did love it. I don't even know how to explain this book, but it's a really good book. You just have to read it. And like I mentioned, I love all the twisted tales that have to do with like Disney. For November, I did read 9 books, and one of them was an audio. The other ones were physical and 1 audiobook. So I did start with Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray. OMG. This book. This book. I gave this book a 6 out of 5 stars. This is the other sports romance books, the series that I'm starting. And this is a hockey romance. And I absolutely love this. Just listen to this. I want a girl I can't have. She's my tutor, my best friend's girlfriend, and my kryptonite. She also looks really good in my t-shirt. But she wants a golden boy. And I'm more of a villain type. Or at least I was, until I saw her smile for the first time. But the good guy she wants wouldn't lust after his friend's girlfriend. And the good guy she's with shouldn't be sneaking around behind her back. So where the hell does that leave me? Oh my god, when I read that I was like... And I think, what's her name? Callie on TikTok, she talks about these books so much that she loves them. And I honestly, this was... when I read when I read what the book was about, I was like... Give it to me now. The next book I read was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is the first book I was telling you guys about, and I rated this book a 3 stars. I didn't like it. I mean, I can't say I didn't like it because this book is basically this book with a cheating trope. That's it. This is all it is. This book is a copy of this with a cheating trope, which I didn't like it. Like, I can't say, like I said, I can't say I didn't like it because I loved Love in Other Words. But it's like, I read the same thing, but the cheating trope. That's all. So, do I recommend it? Not really. If you want to read this book, just read Love in Other Words, and it's like way better. The next book I read is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I did like it. I thought it was going to be a little bit different though. When I first went into this, I thought it was going to be like a Shadowhunters type of book. It is in a way, but then it has to do with like King Arthur. But I did like it, and I am planning on reading the second book because it left kind of like in a cliffhanger. So I'm like really excited for the second one. And yeah, so I do recommend this book 100%. The next book I did was Flock, but it was an audio, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. Like I mentioned, chapter 25 on audio. Loved it. Don't have anything negative to say about that. Just chapter 25. Go listen, go read. The next book I read is Electric Idol by Katie Roberts. This is in the other... I don't know what the series, this is the second book to The Neon Gods, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is a Psyche and Eros retelling, and I love this one better than the first one. I ate this up. I think I loved it. The good girl, bad boy, tattoos, long hair. Oh, I love that. Love this. The next book I read was Careball by Stephanie Garber. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This was just like an okay, like it was. I did like it, but it was like a book. Like I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. Like it was an okay, like I don't care about it book kind of. I do want to continue the series. I am actually reading Legendary right now. I guess it's like Tella's point of view, or yeah. But I can't wait to read all the books. Most of everybody has read this book already, and I guess I'm mostly excited to read the second series of this. What's it called? One True Love or something like that. I'm really excited about that too, but I guess we gotta finish Careball. The next book I read was Travis by Mia Sheridan. I did like this book. It's cute. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love that. I think this is like, what, 7 years after Archer's voice? And I did love that Archer and, oh man, Vivian? No. I forgot the girl's name, but Archer comes out with his family in this book. I love how Travis became this whole new person in this book. you can kind of say that Travis was like the villain in Archer's voice, and he like it's a way better person here, so I did love that about. The next book I read is another Stephen King, Billy Summers. I do love this. I did rate this a 5 stars. I actually listened to this book. I did the audio for it, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I read the first chapter and I was not getting, like, I'm not into it. I just think his writing, it's not for me, but I did love the audio for it. I do think you should read the trigger warnings. Look up the trigger warnings before you read this book. It's a good book. It does have like SA in here, so just make sure to read those trigger warnings before you read this book. But I don't know. This was like one of my favorite reads, another one of my favorite reads for this year. Besides the Raven Hood series, I did really like Stephen King. This one, another one of those. The last book I read in November was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Another one of my favorite reads of the year. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. Recommend it 1000%. Cutest book of the world. I don't know. Honestly, this book was like so different of what I thought it would be about. Like, I just thought that, I guess it would have to do with movies, which it kind of did. But I thought it would, like, I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a whole, it's different of what I thought it would be, but I do recommend it 1000%. And I want to get into more of her books because I heard she has a lot of cute books. So I will have to look into those this year and see if I can read more of Lynn Painter books this year. For December, I did read 5 books, 1 Kindle book, and then 4 physical books. These were in the video of my friends and family pick my next read. So the first book I read in December, it is Rebel Rose by Emma Fairholt. I don't want to butcher that name, but this is the first book of the Queen's Council, the Queen's Council. The Queen's Council, and this is basically what happens after Belle breaks the spell. Really good book. It does have like a lot of politics in it though, but I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because of that reason. It's like more politics than anything in here. But I did really like it, and I did like that there was a story, like a book about what happens after Belle breaks the spell. Like, you never know, like, what is going on with her life. And I did really like that, and she does have, I think, 2 or 3 books more. And the next one has to do with Mulan. So I can't wait to get into that one. The next book I read was November 9 by Colleen Hoover, which I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I did really like this book. And I do recommend it. At first I was kind of like bored. I did do audio and then I did read most of it. But the twist at the end, I was like, what's happening? The next book is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I did really like this one. I gave this one a 4.5. The reason is, I did mention in my other video that I was kind of lost in the POVs and the future, present, past kind of thing. And the POVs, that's when I was more confused because it doesn't tell you who's talking or who's doing the story at the moment. And it was like maybe the last 2 or 3 chapters of the book. That's when I was like so confused because I didn't know whose POV it was or what it was happening. The next book I read was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. 4.5, sorry, out of 5 stars. I just didn't like the ending of this. I did absolutely loved how it's just basically a story of the teacher and a student have a relationship, but she never thought anything was wrong with that or anything that happened between them was wrong. She just think because she consent to it, there was nothing wrong with it, but just didn't like the ending. That's like why I gave this a 4.5. It was so good that I wanted to throw this book every 2 seconds or 5 seconds at the wall. My last read of the year was Fatal Cure by Katie Lockhart. This is the second book to Deadly Illusion, which is, I think it's they're standalones. You don't have to read the first one, but I feel like you should. I don't know. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is like a mafia, like a guy that he's like in the mafia, and then he didn't want to do it, but he falls in love with a police officer, and it's like a police officer that works for the DEA. But yeah, I did really like this story too, and I plan on reading the next one. Like I mentioned, they are standalones. You don't have to read them like in order, but it's just me. I prefer to do that because my anxiety won't let me. But those are all the books I read this year, and my goal for this year is at least 70 books, which last year was 100 and I did not complete it, but I feel like I could have done a little bit more. I just had a really rough half of the year. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.